Welcome back to Learning by Ear. This is lesson number 2, and this lesson is going to focus on what those numbers sound like. So we're going to listen in a little more to what these numbers sound like. And they have some rules that they follow as well. So we're going to kind of listen through, play through some, and hopefully we'll get a better understanding of that. So we're going to look at a song that we're introducing February of 2021 called Behold Him. And so this one is fairly repetitive and it's pretty easy to follow as far as chords go. So we're going to do this in the key of G. This is the capo for the guitarist key, but we're going to play it on piano anyway, just to get the idea because we're working in G a lot and most of us are familiar with those chords. So in the key of G, let's see. Yeah, we're going to talk about a little later what the rules are, but they sound a little different. Like a 4 chord does sound a little different than a 5 chord, even though they're both major chords. So when I play a 4 chord, it's still a major chord, and a 5 chord is still a major chord, but in the key they kind of have different feels. So you'll hear that hopefully as we get there. But before we get there, let's just practice playing by number. Our first chord is G, so that's the key we're in, that's our 1 chord. Okay, I'm gonna really just play these very simply on the piano, so a very basic chord, G chord. So that's our 1 chord. The next chord that we see in the song is a C. That is our 4 chord. Okay, the next chord that you'll see in the song is a D chord. That would be our 5 chord. Kind of sounds like it's going up just a little bit from there, from the 4. And then the next chord is back to that C. So we're back to the C chord. And then finally we will go back to our 1 chord. And our 1 chord should sound like we are now back home. We're back home. And now we can rest because we're back home. That's what the 1 chord feels like. It feels like we're back home. We've established the key, and so we know that when we're back to G, we're back home. So that's the cool thing about the 1. So what are our numbers for this song? Let's stop thinking by chord letters and let's start thinking by numbers. So far we said we have a 1, we got a 4, we got a 5, and then back to the 4, and repeat. That's over and over and over again. This song is very repetitive in it, which makes it really easy and great for learning what we're learning today. So if you look in the verse, you'll see the same pattern. 1, 4, 5, 4. If you look in the chorus, same pattern. 1, 4, 5, 4. The only change we get is in the bridge of this song. So that's great. We can really dial in and listen to this. So we're going to play the numbers. I encourage you to do this. As you're learning this to play by ear, say the numbers as you play them. Okay? So memorize it. Say, okay, G, C, D, C. Got it. Then as you're playing these chords, start thinking by numbers. Say 1 chord. All right? 4 chord. 5 chord. 4 chord again. Back home to 1. Okay? So you can begin to, as you do that, you'll actually begin to train your ear to hear the differences in those chords. And I'm hoping you're hearing the difference between, this is 1 to the 4 chord. Has 1 feel. Here's the 1 chord. Here's the 5 chord though. Has a little more tension to it. Back to the 1 chord. Feels like we're back home. So that's all I want you to do for this assignment is to go now and play. As you play through some songs that you know, I want you to start thinking by number. What you're going to start doing is, without knowing it, you're going to start hearing what you're playing and hearing what those chords sound like in relation to each other. Okay, the 4 chord, 5 chord, the 4 chord, and back to the 1 chord. So that's all I want you to do for this lesson is to just kind of get used to hearing what those numbers sound like. Maybe practice this song over and over again. You can play, I mean, the chords just keep going back and forth, but start saying the numbers as you do. Maybe you want to challenge yourself and add that 6th chord. We'll talk about this a little bit in the next lesson, but that 6th chord sounds a little different than the rest of them. But that's your assignment for this lesson 2, is just to get used to playing and thinking by number rather than thinking G, C, D, C. We want to think 1, 4, 5, 4. All right, we'll see you for the next lesson.